Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a video where I try to have witty writing, except I never wrote a script for any of this, meaning that this is probably going to fail miserably because I've never done any sort of witty writing before, and I can't swear like an absolute moron, because that's usually what makes these witty writing videos funny. But unfortunately, I'm not Yahtzee, so we're going to have to move on, regardless of how utterly stupid and incompetent these students are. Anyway, so after 3 weeks of being gone, and getting back to the game, I was in the daily life section of Chapter 3, where we first learned that Hifumi had decided to go and mess around with a freaking laptop out of nowhere, and clearly he was being a stupid weeb who tried to have sex with it. Except you cannot have sex with a physical object that is not human, thus it failed miserably, and of course Kyoko found out and shamed him for doing so. Meanwhile, Ishimaru comes in, and of course he's pissed off because he wants access to the laptop himself because of his romance thing with Mondo, and Alter Ego being the reason that he got out of his stupid little dumb baby slump. However, because the weeb doesn't want him to be able to do that, Kyoko decides to step in and say that nobody is allowed to access the laptop, even though that's what she said beforehand, and clearly that didn't work. Which only means that things are going to get even more, bad from here. I'm sorry, I don't understand how to do witty writing, but we're just gonna have to roll with this. Following the mean, I decide to spend time with a serial killer, and I also decide to talk about the stock market and exchanges with Mr. Prick over here. No, I still don't like him. The following day, they actually decide to arrive at the meeting, even though they typically don't arrive at the meeting, and Genocide Jill decides to get all horny for zero reason, even though she's been doing that this entire time. And once again, she picks out Aoi for zero reason, talking about her cups, which I don't want to talk about either, because I'd rather not get cancelled on Twitter. Given that she just got insulted in the cafeteria, and I still have my stupid flotation donut that I've had literally no use for this entire Blade game, I decide to hang out with Asahina that day. Following afterwards, I hang out with Yasuhiro, who tries to scam me out of $900 with his clairvoyance skills, and it totally didn't work at all. Following that in the evening, Yasuhiro gathers everyone together in the sauna because we need to talk about something that's important. Also, Toko is back to her normal self, even though we had zero indication that she sneezed or anything, and that's the only way that she could be back to normal. Kyoko then reveals that Alter Ego has been stolen, which makes no frickin' sense because she was supposed to be watching him the entire time. So, what the hell, Kyoko, what'd you do? Then, Kiyotaka and Hifumi proceed to argue with each other because they think the other stole it, even though Kyoko had countermeasures in place to make sure that neither of them could steal it, which makes this even more absurd because they're being dumbasses and arguing over something completely stupid. This totally is irrelevant. The following day, we go to the meeting spot like, we do every single day, except something's wrong because there's only 4 people, and there's still supposed to be 10 people alive, which is weird. Following after that, Kyoko makes the brilliant observation that in this killing game, people have likely disappeared for some random reason. We then go and explore in the higher floors and we find Celeste, who's been injured from out of nowhere, and she comes to explain that she got attacked sometime around 7 when everyone met up. Following that, we find this weird-ass hammer on the ground named Justice Hammer 1. Don't worry, this is totally important later, even though it really shouldn't have hurt Celeste that much. Then we see this random magic trick that happens where Celeste goes from being injured to being completely fine. Because, yeah, this is a visual novel, and they don't really have anything for, meds. She should have gone down to the nurse's office if she was going to heal that significantly. Celeste then proceeds to show us this random picture of Hifumi getting dragged away by this robot man, who we proceed to call Robo Justice in the future. Then Mr. Prick finally shows his face because he's complaining about the noise, and he has his Murder Hobo psychic along with him. Genocide Jill gets all horny again, and Byakuya tells her to piss off and stop being annoying. We then go to the library, where we find Mr. Weeb is injured, supposedly by this Robo Justice guy, where we actually learn that he's called Robo Justice, which is a stupid-ass name.
What the hell am I looking at?
We end up finding another one of the Justice Hammers at the scene of the crime, and then Monokuma shows up out of nowhere, so we decide to leave. We decide to take Hifumi down to the nurse's office, where Genocide Joe continues to be even more horny. Or a soul, that could also account for that.
What?
Why do you know that? Isn't it obvious? Because I was peeking. After sending Genocide Joe to horny jail, Celeste points out the costume individual is now on the 2nd floor, so of course we're going to give chase. We proceed to go ahead and search around, only to get a weird-ass scream from Celeste and go to the 3rd floor. Celeste claims she saw the individual go down the hallway, but before we can chase after her, Genocide Jill reverts back into Toko. Not that it's important anyway, she's gonna turn back into Jill anyway. Why? Because we're about to have another murder. Remember Hifumi in the nurse's office? Yeah, well, he can piss off because he is dead now. Everyone is obviously distraught that the weeb is dead, even though they really shouldn't, because he was stupid weeb and a simp. We find another Justice Hammer on the ground, Aoi has a bit of an episode, and we proceed to explore the 2nd floor. Oh, son of a... Oh wait, I meant murder, because yes, another corpse is turned up. There was another justice hammer at the scene of the crime for some reason, and then Celeste proceeds to show up and tell us that Hifumi's body has now pulled a Houdini. We go down to Tao Alley that another corpse has showed up. Togami continues to be a prick because of course he does, and he stops being a prick once we find out that Taka's body has entered the Shadow Realm. So now 2 bodies have disappeared, this is the first time a double murder has happened, and literally nothing makes sense anymore. I proceed to try to use my clairvoyance to investigate the repository, but for lore purposes, it's been locked. Then Byakuya complains to me about how I didn't check the repository, even though I literally just did that 5 seconds ago, and I return this time and I can actually look inside to see there are 2 bodies. Then Makuma shows up with the Makua file, meaning that yes, these guys are actually dead, and it's time to investigate a murder. Or so I thought. We actually have 5 or 10 minutes that we have to wait, because Asahina is going to complain to Byakuya about important lore stuff and why he's such a prick. But he's not going to stop doing that because he's such a massive asshole. Oh, and Ifumi gets back to life because Asahina cried on him for some reason. Because that makes sense!
He's alive again?
How the hell does that work? We heard the body and discovery announcement. They are both dead. Why is he alive? Hifumi dies again, and that's as far as I'm willing to go with the Wayne writing because I'm tired and I'm gonna have to add stuff for the trial part anyway. You're just angry. And you're just a prick, asshat.